This video was brought to you by Belroy. Italian politics is notoriously unstable. The incumbent government is the country's 70th since the end of World War II, averaging out at a new government roughly every 13 months. But Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni says that she has a plan to change this, a plan that she's described as the mother of all reforms. So in this video, we'll explain her proposals, why she says they're necessary, why they're controversial, and why she faces a real uphill struggle to actually make them a reality. Before we start, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell to stay in the loop and be notified when we release new videos. At first glance, the so-called mother of all reforms doesn't seem to live up to its name, totaling just 5 short articles. But despite being a short bill, it would radically change the Italian electoral and political system. Now, the crucial articles relate to the role of Prime Minister, which currently, as is normal in parliamentary democracies, is someone appointed by the head of state, the Italian president, who must have the confidence of Parliament. However, this bill would change this so that the Prime Minister is a position directly elected by voters at the same time they vote in the parliamentary election, with the position having a term of 5 years. Now, it's fair to say that this isn't normal in a parliamentary democracy. In fact, it's basically totally unique. Only Israel has even experimented with having a directly elected prime minister. And even then, that was only for 3 elections between 1996 and 2001, with it subsequently scrapped because it didn't really solve any problems and just made things more complicated. Anyway, back to Meloni's bill. Under the new rules, the winner of the prime ministerial election would by default be elected to parliament, whereas the current system allows for prime ministers who are not lawmakers. Now, the directly elected prime minister and their government would still need to win a parliamentary confidence vote. Now, if they lost, they would get a second attempt, but if they lost again, then fresh elections would be triggered. Another major change to the bill is that it provides for the party or coalition of the winning prime minister to be granted a seat bonus that guarantees them 55% of seats in parliament. So the winning prime minister should be able to easily command a parliamentary majority. Exactly how this majority bonus would work is yet to be worked out, and will have to be part of a future separate electoral bill. Nevertheless, if the elected prime minister leaves office for whatever reason, the bill stipulates that their replacement must be a parliamentarian from the same party or alliance. Now, if that replacement failed to win a confidence vote, or later left office on their own, then the president must dissolve the parliament and call an early election. The remaining, less consequential part of the bill scraps the position of senator for life, except for ex-presidents and 5 incumbent life senators. Now, it's hard to overstate how major all of these changes would be. The country's current constitutional setup provides for a pretty weak executive branch, designed in part to prevent any one person or party from consolidating too much power, which isn't all that surprising given Italy's not too distant experience with fascism. But that looks to change, because Meloni's reforms will provide the winning coalition significant parliamentary strength, something that she says would help to end the chronic instability of Italian politics, while also saying that directly electing the prime minister will strengthen the democratic bond between voters and the government. It would also effectively ban technocrat-led governments like the previous one led by Mario Draghi. Draghi, an economist and political independent, was drafted by President Sergio Mattarella in 2021 to lead a broad-tent government of national unity amid the COVID pandemic after the fall of the previous government. Meloni's Brothers of Italy party was the only major party not to join Draghi's coalition, with Meloni having previously spoken out against the fairly common Italian practice of bringing in technocrats to lead governments during times of crisis. Perhaps one of the most controversial parts of the reform, though, is the impact that it will have on the Italian presidency. Now, Meloni herself said that the role of President of the Republic is considered by everyone as a role of absolute guarantee and a totem. So she says that she's decided not to touch the powers of president, besides taking away the power to appoint a prime minister. But But the reality is that the president's role would substantially change. Aside from taking away the power to appoint the prime minister, the important role that the president plays during crises would also be diminished. Although supporters of the reform would make the case that such crises will be far less frequent if the reforms go through. Additionally, it would undoubtedly alter the dynamic between the president and prime minister, given that the latter would be able to claim a direct mandate from the people. Also, given the fact that the president is elected by parliament, and Meloni's reforms would guarantee a single party or alliance 55% of the seats, then that party is going to wield significant influence over the election of the president. So, opposition politicians, like the Democratic Party's leader, have criticized the proposed reforms for reducing the president to a figurine, adding that the president of the republic cannot be touched. Perhaps unsurprisingly then, various critics and opponents have described the reform bill as a power grab, a misplaced priority, bungled and sloppy, and dangerous for Italy. But criticism aside, how can these plans actually become a reality? Well, unfortunately for Giorgia Meloni, it looks like it's going to be a long and difficult process. Her proposals are not just electoral law changes, they are in fact constitutional changes. That means that the reform bill would need to be passed twice by both chambers of the Italian parliament, with a 3-month gap between both readings. For it to become law then, both the Chamber of Deputies and the Senate would also need to pass it with a 2/3 supermajority, something that Meloni's coalition doesn't have. Now, she says that she wants to build a broad consensus in order to pass the bills, but that seems unlikely to work, given that the two main opposition parties have spoken out against the plans. However, failing to secure a 2/3 majority doesn't kill the bill. If the bill passes with a simple majority, which Meloni's coalition does have, rather than a supermajority, then a constitutional referendum can be held. Given the lengthy process of this, a likely date for the referendum could be as late as 2026. Now, clearly, we can't yet predict how this referendum would turn out. It may succeed, it may not, but there's good reason to see it as a risk for Meloni. 2 out of the 3 most recent constitutional referendums in Italy have ended in failure for the government who proposed them in 2006 and 2016. And the latter of these could be a cautionary tale for Giorgia Meloni, as Matteo Renzi resigned as prime minister just a day after the Italian public rejected his proposed constitutional changes. In fact, opposition politicians have already said that Meloni should suffer the same fate as him if her proposals are voted down. Although for now, she says that she won't. Now, when it comes to our journalism, you clearly expect us to provide high quality and responsible reporting. But shouldn't you also expect the same from the products you buy? I certainly do, and that's why for the last few years I've been exclusively using wallets, phone cases, and passport cases from Bellroy, which is why I was super excited to hear that they wanted to sponsor some of our videos. As a loyal Bellroy user for the past few years now, I know quite how reliable and high quality their products are. My current phone case, for instance, is beautifully minimal in this stunning terracotta leather. That leather, by the way, is eco-tanned and achieved a gold rating from the Leather Working Group, recognizing excellence in environmental and labor practices. It's also just a beautiful, high-quality material that, in my experience, only gets better with age. Bellroy don't just talk about their environmental credentials either. They're also an officially certified B Corp company and have upcycled 10.5 million plastic water bottles, used 60,000 kilograms of industrial nylon cutoffs, and saved 15 million liters of water by using dry tan leathers. Their products are also just great to use. Designed around principles of minimalism, all of the Bellroy products that I've bought have been beautifully designed and easy to use, with their bags optimizing for functionality and efficiency, and their wallets are slimline enough to fit into any pocket. So find out why I've been using Bellroy for years now, and check out their huge array of products by clicking the link in the description. Plus, when you do, you'll get 10% off anything you order. Thanks to Bellroy for supporting the channel, and thanks to you for using our link.